Hi, I'm Lisa Salberg. I am the founder and the CEO of the Hypertrophic Cardiomyopathy Association, the website you're visiting today. I've done many videos on other topics over the years, and today I'm going to replace an old video about who I am, what I've done, and why I do it with this new updated video. So we're going to tell a little story today, and that will probably answer a lot of questions about why this girl in Jersey does what she does. This is raw, so I'm not editing this. This is just me talking to you. Number one, I don't remember a time in my family where there wasn't the weight of heart disease. It just didn't exist from the time I was born. I remember hearing about my grandfather who died suddenly when my father was only 17 years old. And then his aunt died a few years after that. And my uncle had a heart problem, and my sister had a heart problem, and it was just part of who we were as a family. I don't really know what our community knew about it at that time, other than they understood that my father's father had died, and there was, some local community support in a sense that wasn't that a shame. Well, it didn't really hit me personally until I stood in line one day at Copeland Middle School in Rockaway Township, where now, ironically, my nephew actually works. Small world. To have the physical that they gave you every year. You stood in line with all the girls in your class, and the doctor listened to your heart. They did a scoliosis test, and they moved you on, except for me. I remember the day very vividly, and I've told the story many times. I stood in line with all the other girls, mortified because we could only have our bras on. 7th grade girls don't like that. I remember the little doctor, sitting on a little round stool, and each girl would come up, and the stethoscope would go to the chest, and I remember stepping up in line, just like no big deal, and the look on his face. And he asked for the room to be cleared. It was like a small room where everybody was in, and they could step out behind the door. The rest of the girls went back beyond the door, so now I was pinned as being the abnormal one, or something's going on, or she did something wrong, by all the girls in my class. Yay. Not really. So the nurse then took the stethoscope, listened, and she had a look on her face that pretty much equaled the doctor's. And right there I knew. I knew my life changed. I knew that I had what ran in the family. I didn't need a genetic counselor. I didn't need any tests. I just knew. I was told I couldn't come back to school for 3 days, not for 3 days. I couldn't come back to school until I had a cardiology appointment, which we got 3 days later. So, unfortunately, I didn't get to go home and just chill for a couple of days. It made me stay in school until the appointment, but I had to get it done quickly. So Mom took me to the cardiologist, Dr. Paul Goldfinger in Dover, New Jersey, and after a very rudimentary EKG and a very rudimentary echocardiogram, this was 1979, we go back to his office, we sit down and we talk, and he says, you have idiopathic hypertrophic subaortic stenosis, the same thing that runs in your family, and there's nothing that can be done for you. I was 12. And I, being the smartass that I was and am, said, do I have to do my homework? Because you've just given me a death sentence, and why the hell should I care? And he said, yes, you have to do your homework, and you have to behave, and come back, and we'll do a Holter monitor, and we'll do some more testing. Well, that never happened, because my mother was not a fan of doctors. My mother passed away last year, and I've abridged this story in the past because I didn't want to insult her or upset her. But the reality is, my mother didn't feel it was necessary to take me back to a doctor to have my heart checked. So I waited till I was 18 to get it checked on my own. I think there's a lot of parents who live in denial, and it's their coping mechanism. And I harbor no ill will towards my mother for her decisions. I think she was doing what she felt was best to not turn her child into a cardiac cripple. I think there are some better ways of handling it, but she chose her path, and I respect her for that. And thank God I'm here today. So I got diagnosed. I began living the lie, and you can read that in my blog. And the lie is I told everybody I was fine. There was nothing wrong with me. I just had this little heart murmur thing. Forget about the times that I almost passed out while roller skating, or the crushing chest pain I would get, or the dizziness I would feel every day, or my heart racing for no reason. That was normal. So I lived what I thought was a normal life. At the age of 21-ish, just before 21, I had to start taking HCM very, very seriously. I developed subacute bacterial endocarditis because I went to the dentist right before my wedding, who told me genetic conditions didn't need to be premedicated. So I didn't premedicate, and I developed endocarditis, which is a bacterial infection that forms inside of your heart, and it can throw off nice little clots, and they landed in my brain, and I had a few strokes. I wasn't even 21 yet. Okay, I'm taking HCM seriously now. But then what happened, while I was being treated for the endocarditis, and I had a Hickman catheter in my chest so I could get antibiotics 24 hours a day for about 8 weeks. The day I had that removed, I come home to a message on my answering machine. My Uncle Tom had just dropped dead in Montana. He was about 48. All right, this is getting serious. I've really got to step things up. So we ended up going to what we thought was a great research program, and it had been in the past. We went to the National Institute of Health. Unfortunately, it was under the direction at that time of somebody who I thought could be trusted and respected. Turned out we were wrong. And my sister and I both received pacemakers early on in a trial. Although we weren't really told it was a trial, we were told it was a treatment. And that was the only treatment, which was not accurate. So we kind of got tied up with that and wasted a bit of time in that process. So Lori and I are both going back and forth to NIH, and we're being a bit more aggressive on our treatment, and her kids are being screened and watched, and we're just being more vigilant as a family. My father's been experiencing some episodes of atrial fibrillation, but Dad had never been diagnosed with HCM. Although now what we know about HCM is an autosomal dominant genetic disorder. If his father had it, if his brother had it, if his kids have it, he's got it. So finally, when my father was nearly 60 years old, they finally diagnosed him. And I'm thinking, this is crazy. How could so many doctors miss something so obvious? And they did. So then Dad starts getting treated. Unfortunately, 5 years after my stroke, to the day, my sister's treatment had been a little bit what we would consider now not appropriate, but back then we didn't really know. This is 1995 now. And my sister was on high-dose amiodarone, double diuretics, and crashed out her potassium, and had a cardiac arrest on June 12th, 1995. She was 36 years old. My father ran to her house, which is around the corner, did CPR. My brother did CPR. They got her back. Unfortunately, her brain already had too much damage. She lasted for 5 days. And then my big sister was an organ donor, and she saved 3 people. That, my friends, was when I got really angry. And I said, no more. Not on my watch. Nobody else's sister. Nobody else's family. I was 8 months pregnant. My daughter was about to be born. My sister's 2 kids. Didn't have a mom anymore. She had been divorced. He's nothing to speak of. We fought for custody. We won. I got 2 amazing grown-up kids now. And my niece and nephew, who are now both diagnosed and being treated for HCM. And my daughter, who was born a month after my sister died, is now 20. Time flies. And unfortunately, we found out that she carried the gene when she was about 7. She clinically presented at 10. She got an ICD at 10. She's on her second ICD at age 20. In my family, HCM is not benign. It is stolen. It has taken people from us way too young. And no more on my watch. That's my goal. Unfortunately, my goal wasn't quite achieved, but I can accept this one. I lost my father in 2008 to complications from HCM. He had been in heart failure for years. His AFib was very difficult to manage. Although we did it, he had a very aggressive heart surgery, not a myectomy. He needed a mitral valve replacement and ended up having 7 different procedures done on his heart in one day. He survived that. Unfortunately, his kidneys took a hit, and he ended up the last 18 months of his life on dialysis. Not a pretty thing. So one day Dad said to me, "You told me when I wanted to quit dialysis you'd support me." And I said, "Yes, Dad, I will." He said, "I'm done." That was the bravest thing I've ever seen anybody do. Bravest. My father looked death in the face and said, "I'm ready." My family has some pretty incredible people in it. And I'm honored to be part of this family. I just wish HCM wasn't part of it too. So, the day my daddy said, "I'm done," he was moved from his home to mine to hospice. It just was more conducive. And it's supposed to last a couple of days without dialysis. Not my dad. My dad made it 8 days. And he held court, and he said goodbye to everybody. If you've ever seen the movie Big Fish, look at the final scene in the movie Big Fish. That was my father's send-off. And that was really kind of my dad's life. So, there you have it. That's my family. My HCM, where am I now? Keep up with my blog and you'll see. I am symptomatic. I do have problems. I don't know if I'm headed for a transplant or I'm just going to ride this hard out as long as I can. But it's going to be a bumpy road, but I'm going to travel it. And you're going to travel it with me. So, sorry for getting a little emotional, but it is my family, and I love them. And that's our family story of HCM. So enjoy the website, get to know others in your community, and give us a call at the HCMA if you want to talk. There's a Jersey girl here ready to share some information with you. Have a great day.